What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my Week 16 college football power rankings. In this one, we're going to talk about where these teams rank after conference championships. And obviously, Tulane's dropping from the rankings after getting blown out by Army, but they are going to stay in the others receiving votes with teams like Louisville, Colorado State, Texas A&M, and Kansas State. But 21 through 25, Illinois jumps in because of Tulane's falling out. UNLV falls 5 spots after their lackluster performance against Boise State on the road. And then obviously the other teams are just staying where they are at this point in the season. And you can see I already did update the bowl games. So Illinois plays South Carolina. That'll be a good game. Colorado will play BYU. That'll be a good game. And I think that Washington State Syracuse game could be a high scoring affair. So definitely some good games for the bowl season as well. And then kind of same thing here. You get Ole Miss going to play Duke, and they're at 16, staying put. Iowa State falls a few spots after their loss to Arizona State in the Big 12 championship. They get Miami, which should be a very good bowl game, assuming everyone's going to play. And Army wins their conference, goes 11 and 1, and this team has the case to be a college football playoff, in there. But if they would probably would have kept it close within seven of Notre Dame, they might have been in there, and it would have been interesting for the committee because they still got one regular season game left, even though they already won their conference, which is pretty crazy to think about. But here we are, Army 11 and 1, could be 12 and 1 heading into their bowl game against Marshall. Then Missouri gets Iowa. Like I said, Colorado gets BYU in a good bowl game. Now 11 through 15, 13 through 15 are the teams that just missed the cutoff in the playoff, and I think that's the order that I would have them in. Miami, South Carolina, Alabama. Obviously, Miami and South Carolina playing two ranked teams in a good matchup where Alabama gets the rematch of last year's bowl game, the Rose Bowl in Michigan. And they'll play in Tampa this year, so definitely different story this year. Obviously, not as big of a game, but should be a good rematch. And then SMU goes on the road to face Penn State after their loss to Clemson in heartbreak fashion in the ACC championship. And that means Clemson gets into the playoff and they go on the road to face Texas in a homecoming game for Cade Klubnik, born and raised there, went to high school in Austin. So didn't he chose Clemson over Texas. So it's a big game for Cade Klubnik and obviously Clemson in getting into the playoff as well. 6 through 10. Everybody stays the same here except Arizona State and Tennessee move up because of some others falling. And Arizona State obviously moves up too with their win over Iowa State, and they get into the playoff because of it. And they face the winner of Texas and Clemson, which more than likely is going to be a very high scoring game. Indiana goes on the road to face at Notre Dame, which is going to be a home game pretty much for both of these teams, being that it's not that far of a drive in the state of Indiana. So, Battle of Indiana in the playoffs, and then you get 7 and 8 here in my rankings. Ohio State plays Tennessee. Ohio State at home. We saw what happened last week when they played a home game against their big rival, got upset. And if Tennessee goes in there and does that, Ryan Day might be fired while walking to midfield, shaking hands with Josh Heupel. Um, who knows what's going to happen with Ohio State, Tennessee? I think that's probably the biggest question mark that we have heading into that matchup. And then last but not least, Boise State at 6. Big win over UNLV to get into the playoff, get rewarded being a conference champion. They get a bye and they face the winner of Penn State and SMU. Now, 1 through 5, I think this is kind of where you expect it. Oregon at 1, Georgia at 2. Oregon, very dominant performance. Their defense, people question their defense, but if they can score 45, who cares how their defense plays? They face that winner of the Ohio State Tennessee game. Georgia beats Texas in OT, and they get the winner of Notre Dame, Indiana. Now, I think that's going to be an easier path than some of the teams have. Texas obviously gets Clemson at home, Penn State, SMU at home, and then Notre Dame at home against Indiana. And Texas, Penn State, they had those games. It was their games to win at some point, but they just couldn't capitalize on some mistakes as Texas had a battle back and Penn State played from behind early. They just couldn't catch up. That's going to be it for my Week 16 power rankings. Check back here in about a month to see who comes out on top with the college football playoff championship and where all these teams are going to rank at the end of the year. But until that time, the Bench Buddies are out.